Who else might you have wanted in
Yeah.
your?
Well, again, I want to say that the basis for my choices, whether I spent any time with any of the ladies in question, that I interviewed them more than once, because that wouldn't really be enough for me to write about them. Um, so,
And with that criteria, it makes for a focused yet
yeah,
robust,
yeah,
gathering of divas. Yeah.
and it makes it more personal.
Mm-hmm.
So, within that context, definitely Marlena Shaw, who wow, I kind of get a little bit.
Tell us about Marlena a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Oh, just a real person. I mean, very real, honest, funny, really funny. Like, she had a great sense of humor, and I just think of her very fondly, because I remember, again, interviewing her back in the 70s originally, and then we continued to be in touch even when she wasn't recording as much. Um, and just an amazing performer, and just a really nice, it's hard word to say it this way, but just a wonderful spirit. A wonderful spirit. And I did consider her to be a friend. We interacted when she finally found social media. A lot of the divas, as we know, didn't necessarily sign on right away to the whole idea, but she absolutely. So I would want to give some props to her, because I just spent time around her. The other thing too, Patrick, is that she was a consistent, since I came back to England, let's say 2009, she was a consistent performer here at Ronnie Scott's, the main jazz club in London, and actually Europe. And by virtue of a couple of songs that were used in commercials and became also sampled a lot, California Soul was one of them. Woman of the Ghetto is another one. And, she built a fan, and it's funny when I say those songs, a lot of times people in America don't even know that she has, they don't necessarily use as a reference those songs with her, but in they were using jingles here, TV, all kinds of things. So she would come back to Ronnie Scott's probably at least twice a year, sometimes do a 5-night run, sold out every night, every show.
Beautiful.
And that was, so she, like a few other artists that we could mention, really built a career and a following in Britain, then almost was, and in Japan also, the other market for her, that was really beyond whatever she could achieve in America. So that's how I could spend more time with her when she would come to England.
Yes.
Every time I think about it, I just smile, because she used to make me laugh. She used to make the audience laugh. So Marlena Shaw for sure. Oh, that was funny. Marlena Shaw for sure. I
love that.
So Marlena Shaw, you mentioned a couple of other prospective divas for the book. The one that I think you mentioned that I could definitely include and would want to include for the same reason that I did interview her several times and spend some time with her, is Stephanie Mills.
Ah, yes, love.
Yeah,
Stephanie Mills.
what a performer! I mean, still to this day. And
still, it's worth noting, I saw the Big Queens tour
with
and Shaka Khan and Patti LaBelle and Gladys Knight, and that's Stephanie. She considers herself the youngin amongst those legends, right?
Well, she is by age, for sure. Yeah. But I want to say something upfront about Stephanie in the context of what you just said. Every time I've ever seen her perform, and you may be able to say this about when you saw her on that tour, she loves she loves performing. She loves it. She loves she loves giving the audience what they came for. Yes. Now, I want to be kind and say that isn't necessarily true of all the performers we know.
You were correct. I think a lot of us fans, we dubbed the phone-in show, like who phoned their show in.
Yeah. No names.
That's right. No names.
Not for now, anyway.
And God rest some of their souls.
Yeah.
Oops, yeah. Did I say that?
You did. You did indeed. So, but Stephanie, yeah. So Stephanie. I mean, I first met Stephanie Mills in 1974.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to give me my correct chronology here. It was the
Well,
Wiz, yeah,
that's
the Wiz,
that would be
1975.
the time of the
It was
Wiz.
1975, totally. 1975 at the Wiz, backstage at
Mm-hmm.
the Wiz.
Yeah,
A friend of mine, Gary, invited me to go see the Wiz. I mean, buy the ticket. It wasn't like they gave me a ticket, so I went to see it, and I was like, "Oh, who is this? Who is she?" I mean, I'd heard her name, and she had made a couple of records before.
yeah,
And that's when I arranged on another visit to interview her backstage at the Wiz because she had an album coming out on Motown, and
that's
it was
right.
arranged through Motown for me to go to the interview with her. And from then on, I mean, I thought she was brilliant. And then the breakthrough was actually with two people you mentioned earlier, and James M. Toomey and Reggie Lucas.
That
And
is
there was a
correct.
little side story. I'll do it as briefly as I can. You don't want to spoil it for future episodes, but to say that
That's right.
when Toomey and Lucas, I did an interview with them for the first Toomey album, which came out on Epic, and they'd already done some other work.
Is
And
that
I remember,
was Juicy Fruit? Was that Juicy Fruit,
no, that was later.
or did
That,
they
that
have
was their
something
very
before?
first album, and the album was called. Oh man, what was it called? Well, their first Epic album. I'm going to look it up in
The
a minute.
first one, yeah,
But anyway,
yeah.
by the by, I was sitting, they did the interview at their publisher's office, Gulf and Western, on Columbus Circle. I remember it vividly, some high up floor. And I'd never met them before, and very conversational. And I guess they knew a little bit about what I'd done and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, in the midst of the conversation, the phone rang in their office, and they said, "Hold on a minute," because I wasn't recording the interviews. And it was the person at 20th Century Records who they sent some demos over to, possibly for Stephanie Mills. That had not been agreed at that point. And while I was there, they got the phone call saying, we want to work with you. Now that's another meeting. So that was the genesis of the recording that took place. I think the same. Well, shortly thereafter was their first recordings with Stephanie Mills, which ended up in the "What You're Gonna Do with My Lovin'" album, and that massive success. So I can't say I had anything to do with it, but I was certainly there when they got the phone call. And then I got to spend some time in the studio with Toomey and Lucas while they were doing some work with her. But the thing was, I just want to say that the thing I remember, it was they worked with Stephanie in a way that it was like her coming of age, because up to that point, she was, of course, on Broadway doing other things. And I think, not that she led a sheltered life, but she had a protective family because they knew that she was, a prodigy, that she was young. She was a young girl, in a sense, a young woman. And then Tuma was even doing a song like "What You Gonna Do with My Lovin'" was a big breakthrough for her. It was a big breakthrough.
Yes.
It was no longer doing some sophisticated ballad or your big ballad. It was like, what you going to do about the question? And that was her like, woo, And from then on, that's how I could spend more time with Stephanie, see her. I literally think I did interviews on all of her albums. And then later, when she went to MCA, it continued on. And the other thing I want to say is important to note is that her musical director, at the time when she was just going on the road with "What You're Gonna Do with My Loving" and the albums that followed, was my dear friend John Simmons, who also went on to be the musical director for Whitney Houston, and with whom I wrote some songs. There's a whole story about that. But the point being, there was a lot of synergy and connection. So Stephanie Mills, 100%, million percent deserves a chapter in the Soulful Divas.
Well, let me say a couple of things about Miss Mills. I did meet her, I think, I met her when I was producing Good Day Atlanta in the early 90s, and that was for the gospel album, which I think Donald Lawrence produced for her, that gospel release. So that was when after her having all those great years, had the chance to meet her. As you describe her breakthrough, if you will, with Toomey on the boards, I liken her breakthrough to Janet Jackson's with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, where she had her career as a child. She had success. She had even recordings But that Control album is the partnership that then gelled what would become the superstar Janet Jackson. And
Yes.
Stephanie Mills really began her hit making trend on the shoulders of Mtume. So we love all of that.
Absolutely. Yes.
Well, before we, oh, I did want to say one more thing. Since I did mention Oprah's Legends Ball, she had youngins, and the youngins who were legendary themselves. I felt that Stephanie should have been one of them. Melba Moore was on the youngins list. Donna Summer was not on the list. I thought she could have been a legend or a youngin, but she wasn't on the list. And I remembered, Oprah's thought was, if you do your own Legends Ball, if you want to have your names on there, but these were her names. And I was so happy that all of these names were her legends, even as I thought to myself, maybe there could be a couple of other people here. Vanessa Williams, I thought might have been on the list. And so I think that's really nice that even how you have sort of curated your project, how I even curated my book, I sort of had less of a criteria. It's like if I met them, if I interviewed them once on a red carpet, if I produced them, they're going in the book. You know what I mean? From that angle.
Good.
But I think it's all based on that same mission, which you have been about, and Lord knows I'm about, which is really amplifying often these underrated, underserved divas who do so much for the culture. And they could easily go unrecognized. So I'm happy that we get the chance to talk about them this way and keep it alive.
I will mention a couple. You mentioned Don Summer, but I only really interviewed Donna Summer maybe twice. I don't really get to know her, so I wouldn't really be able to share much about her.
Yeah,
I think, but there are a couple of others I do need to mention because I have had a long association with them. One is Evelyn Champagne King.
Oh, I love her. Yeah,
and who continues to work, excite audiences.
She continues to drop it like it's hot. David, have you I'm like, how are those knees? I don't think she's had knee replacement. That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Evelyn, and then also Jean Carn, who is actually this evening. I know this will probably not air the day that we won't air today, what we're doing now, but this evening in London, which is April the 12th.
Yeah,
I'll be going to see Jean Carn in concert with Shirley Jones of the Jones Girls and some other people for a celebration of the music of Dexter Wansel and MFSB.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. Well, please, I met Jean Carn during my Good Day Atlanta era.
Really?
So please extend love to her. I will. And I, of course, love Shirley Jones, the Jones Girls. As Diana says, the Jones sisters, don't they sound like the Supremes? Diana took those girls.
Well, of course, they were background. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Background singers with her on the road. Am I correct?
Yeah. Yes. And Aretha and a lot of others.
Yes.
They did a lot of great work before. Diana helped them get their deal at RCA, which brought
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, no surprise.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there are probably some. I mean, I did have a list. Oh, I know that one must mention Candi Staton.
Oh, yes.
Sometimes referred to as
Young Hearts Run Free.
Yes. Again, we have a long history.
And she's back in the news this year with her Grammy nomination.
That's right. That's right.
Grammy week. I was so 100%. Proud and excited for her. And because Celebrity Bio and autobiographies are my favorite, I loved her memoir that she wrote many years ago. Yeah. And it told some great stories that I don't think anyone knew about until she did a TV One unsung that kind of captured some of the beats of her life, the struggles, etc. But she's amazing. And I guess you've been lots of time with her.
Yes, over the years, yes, absolutely. I mean, when she would come to England, since I've been back here, but also before that, I remember I had probably 5 or 6 interviews with her over the years. Just a wonderful, and I got to know her. I mean, when I say interviews, it doesn't just mean I sat down and talked to them, but get to know them, spend a little time socially with them sometimes.
Yes.
It's a great, again, the word that always comes to mind for me, Patrick, is spirit, a great spirit, like a person who has spirit. See, I don't think sometimes when people talk about spirit, they refer to people as who have passed on, but I'm
Mhm.
referring to in the differences. They have a great spirit in terms of who they are as human beings. So
Yeah.
I would definitely include Candi Staton in that. Absolutely 100%.
Energy, it's energy, and it's
It's
energy
energy.
that
Yeah.
delivers at a high frequency.
That's
So
oh, I like that. I like, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
100%. There
I
you go.
love
You
that.
said it much better than I could.